Gale, and I am here to discuss initiative and referendum. Um, when we are talking about the word initiative, it means in the political realm, it means that it is a petition that is signed by a certain number of registered voters that can force a government to choose or enact a law and hold public vote in legislature. Referendum. It is a process for constitutional change in which a proposal is voted on by the public. It is a measure that appears on the ballot because of a voter petition drive, and it is like the initiative in that both are triggered by petitions. However, there is a significant difference. An initiative is created with a five-step process. First, there has to be a preliminary filing of a proposed petition with a designated state official. Then the petition needs to be reviewed and following statutory requirements, they have to review the language of the proposal. Preparation for a ballot needs to be done. It needs to be having a title as well as a summary. And then circulation of the petition to obtain the required number of signatures of registered voters, usually a percentage of voters cast for a statewide office in the preceding general election. And then finally, there has to be a submission of the petitions to the state elections official who must verify the number of signatures. And if the signatures are valid, the question goes on the ballot, or in states with the indirect process, it is sent to the legislator. Once an initiative is on the ballot, the general requirement for passage is a majority vote. A referendum, the steps to begin a referendum, it allows voters to approve or repeal an act of legislature. So if the legislator passes a law that voters do not approve of, they may gather signatures to demand a popular vote on the law. There is a 90-day period after the law is passed, which during the time petitioning must take place. Once there's enough signatures, and again, if the signatures are verified, the new law appears on the ballot for a popular vote. However, during the time that is passed, the popular vote may not take effect. If it is approved, then it goes as scheduled. If voters reject the law, it is voided and it does not take effect. Comparing and contrasting initiative and referendum, upon doing research, I discovered that the differences between the two is that an initiative, they both actually share a common goal. Initiative and referendum, it is to enable the voter or the citizen to take an active part in the democratic legislative process. However, they differ in the way of its approach or how it's initiated. Initiatives begin with the people. Citizens draft the proposal, then petition to add it onto the ballot, and then vote. Citizens, in contrast to the referendum, it is initiated not by citizens, but by the government, and the legislator submits it to the legislation for the people or to the people for approval. Pros and cons for referendums. It provides a level of political support for complex decisions. It creates specific points of negotiation. It also creates a mandate to follow. And if the ruling party is unsure which direction to go, they can seek the mandate from the people. Cons, it allows for a false narrative to campaign for specific results. It can also create division within the community, especially if the votes are marginally close for whatever is being voted on. Pros and cons for initiative. Well, one of the main advantages of the ballot initiative is that they allowed citizens to bypass the traditional channels of policymaking, and their voices are heard on critical issues. Ballot initiatives give citizens a direct say in the laws that affect their lives, and they can be particularly effective when promoting social justice or environmental justice. Con, Well, ballot initiatives, they can be vulnerable to having misinformation, and it can also be manipulated. Opponents of a ballot initiative often argue that they are way too simplistic as well as emotional, and they do not allow for the complexities that uh, that are surrounded with policymaking. Um, as well as ballot initiatives can be expensive to fund as well as promote. So those that have a higher financial resource, they can it can be disproportionate to those that do not have those resources, and the outcome can also be disproportionate. When it comes to the state of Arizona, they were well aware of their time. On February 12th, in February 14th in 2012, Arizona celebrated not only its constitution of 100 years, but also the process of initiative and referendum. Clearly, the political leaders and the people were well ahead of their time. We know from reading that William Taft, at first, he rejected the Constitution that was written. He was concerned about the recalling of judges. But once that was amended and the Constitution was given back on his desk, he approved it for statehood, allowing Arizona to become the 48th state in February of 1912. Arizona is one of those states that really fight for their citizens. The citizens are really into their politics. They pay attention to what the laws are, and if they are not supportive of what the laws are being presented, they use their democratic right, and they petition as well as they vote. They use the initiative, they use the referendum. They've been doing it for over 100 years. And they are teaching some of the other states how to go about seeking guidance for what they want in their state.